Ramirez de Lucena with the black pieces versus an unknown player with the white pieces. And this game was played in 1497, so 527 years ago. We have e3, d5, and d4. And now this is already the first interesting moment of the game, because d3 is not a common move, because this is something that we can find in another move order. If you play d4 and e5, the England gambit, you can play e3, which is called the reversed French, because if black plays d5, we are basically in a reversed French, where white is up one tempo compared to a common French defense. We have pawn takes in the game. I mean, this was just a small thing that I wanted to show you. I didn't know that. Obviously, in the England gambit, you just want to take this pawn. The England gambit is not a very good opening, so taking is definitely the superior move. But if you don't want to engage in that, you can just play e3 and go like this. Pawn takes, and we don't have pawn takes, but we have queen takes. Over pawn takes, we could have transposed into an exchange French. This is basically an exchange French, which with a weird couple of moves. But instead we have queen takes. There is still a pawn over there. d5 and queen back to d1. Now this is a weird move to me, but in the lead chess database, the player database, not the masters, there are no master game in the database, but in the player database, this queen d1 is the main move. I couldn't tell you why. Maybe the players are scared of knight to c6, but it does not make much sense to retreat with the queen before knight to c6. We have bishop to d6. Now this is not a free pawn, because there would be bishop b4 check and a discovered check winning the queen. So we have knight to c3, because now we are threatening to take this pawn. So black responds with knight to f6. And we have knight to f3. Both players are developing their pieces. Bishop to d3 and knight to c6. And we see that this kind of little setup with all the pieces developed in the center. We often see this from the white side with both pawns over there. When black is adopting a very passive setup, then white just does not know what to do. You can just always adapt this kind of setup with the two pawns, the two bishops and the two knights. It may not be the most ambitious setup, but it's solid. And this is what Luis Ramirez de Lucena is going for. And you might know his name, Lucena, from the Lucena position, which is a famous endgame position, a rook endgame, which actually is named after him, but that's a mistake because he did not come up with the Lucena position. And I forgot to mention that this was actually the second oldest game ever recorded. There is only one game recorded before that, and I've made a video on the channel about that if you want to check it out. Here we have b3, because this bishop is not going to go on this diagonal because of this e3 pawn. So the bishop is going on b2. And we have h6. I don't think this is the best move, because there is no bishop to g5 to avoid, but there may be some knight to g5 idea to try to gain the bishop pair. So that's probably what black was going for. Bishop b2, developing the bishop. Queen to d7 and queen to e2. And now we have both players castling. And this might not seem like a big deal, but it is. Because in the oldest game ever recorded, there is some high suspicions that castling was not yet invented, or at least not played in that game. So this is the first time that we see castling in a recorded game of chess. So that's big. And that's basically the last changes to the rule, last big change. There has been some minor changes, like the 50 move rules or something like that, but those are minor changes. And we have opposite side castling. So g5 from black, launching an attack on white. And the best move from white would be knight to b5, trying to trade the knight for the bishop, maybe remove some pressure from h2, because if you win the bishop, there are no more ideas of sacrificing the bishop on h2. Instead, the player with white gets scared and played knight to e1, which is not a good move. You should not be retreating your knight like that. Worst case scenario, on the next move you move your knight, you go forward, you trade the knight, that would be fine. Instead we have knight to e1, and now we have h5 going forward, and f3, another not so good move, which basically indicates that the player with white is scared of the attack, and that's generally not a good sign, because there is not much going on. I mean, you're advancing your pawns, but how are you going to break through? There is no clear path to victory. But f3 creates like some weaknesses in the positions, and now there might be some ideas to go checkmate white. We have g4 and f4, trying to avoid this. h4, which is basically a sacrifice, because there is f5, and this bishop has nowhere to go, and you cannot take, because bishop takes pawn, bishop takes, and you would be winning the queen as well, not just the bishop, so that would be terrible. So instead we have just h3, pawn takes bishop, and we have bishop takes pawn with check. I know the computer does not like this, and I'm going to show you why. Computer wanted to play this on the previous move. Bishop takes, king takes, queen check, king back, and we save this bishop. And now you have sacrificed one bishop, but you have an attack going on, and it's still slightly better for white, but there is a game to play. Instead, with what happened in the game, h3, pawn takes, check, king takes. Black has sacrificed the two bishops, not just one, which is a little bit too much material for the engine, the computer, who thinks that this is now losing for black, but white needs to defend accurately. King takes pawn, because this game was a discovered check. And now black saves the queen and is threatening checkmate in one with queen to h2, checkmate. The best move would have been rook to f4 to defend this. That would have been a very nice position, and after something like knight to h5, you can just take the pawn and you're in a solid position. Instead we have rook to h1, trying to trade the rooks, but this is a small mistake, because now we can take rook takes, king takes, and you can just bring the second rook into the attack, and you have just removed one defender of the king, basically. King to g2 and queen to g3. So far this is still a slight advantage for white. So despite being two bishops up, like you can see that there are the two knights, and there are two extra bishops for white, but it's only like +1 or +1.5, so it's a good advantage, but it's not that easy to defend. sacrifice the queen for the knight, you would have 3 pieces for the queen. So that's not the end of the world. That's not losing or anything. But that's not. You want player with white wants to win now because they have a material advantage. So we have queen to f2, offering the queen trade. Black cannot accept this because if you trade queens, your attack is basically fading down. There is no more attack, and you have sacrificed so many pieces that now you need to checkmate white if you want to win. So we have queen to h2 check, king f1, and g3. And now the only moves that does not lose the game is queen to g1. It's not even threatening the queen trade because if you take pawn takes and this pawn is preventing the king cannot prevent the promotion. So white could actually go like this and sacrifice. Sorry about that. Sacrifice the rook for this rook, and now you would have 1 rook for the 2 bishops, and this is actually a drawn position. But this is not so easy to draw. Instead, in this position, we have queen takes f6, and this is the final mistake because there is now mate in 6. You can pause the video and try to find it if you want. The move is queen to h1 check. Only move. Now you take the knight with check. The queen cannot cover because you would just take it and it's defended by the pawn. So you have 2 choices. King to e1, rook to h1, bishop f1. No, sorry. If king to e1, it's knight takes with check, forcing the king over there, and now rook to e1. Check, and you would have to defend with the queen and it's checkmate. Queen is over there, and if you go king to d1 immediately, rook to h1 check, bishop f1, rook takes f1, queen takes f1, queen takes queen, and materially speaking it's not completely winning, but there is knight f3 checkmate. So pretty nice game from Ramirez de Lucena with the black pieces. And I was going to say something but I kind of forgot. Oh yeah, on the first game that I showed you, the oldest game ever recorded, the quality of the play was not very high. You could see that the players were not really good at the game. This is a pretty high quality game, at least for the black player, but even white defended did not defend poorly, at least. So it was a relatively high quality game, especially for the time, the first one. And on that note, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel, that would be really nice. I've had some people complain in the comments that there might be ads that are going in the middle of the videos. Unfortunately, I have no control over that. You need to be in the YouTube Partner program to be able to decide where the ads go. And for that, I need like 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time. So I'm nowhere near that yet. Maybe at some point in the future. If I do, I will definitely remove the ads from the middle and the end of the video, because this is an ASMR channel, so you don't want ads. You want to relax. You don't want all of a sudden a very loud ad in your ears. But thank you for watching anyway. Hopefully there are not too many ads. And on that note, I wish you a good day, a good evening, or even a good night if you're watching this from the